I had never been the kind of person to panic easily, but that night tested every nerve I had. My name is Lauren Matthews, and I was driving home from my best friend's engagement party, somewhere between Cedarville and Brook Hill. It was past 11 p.m., and the road stretched endlessly under a dim sky. The party had been beautiful, laughter, dancing, music, but exhaustion sat heavy on my shoulders. I had promised my husband, Ethan, that I'd drive carefully, though he had offered to come pick me up. I'd laughed it off, insisting that the drive was barely an hour. If only I'd known what that hour had in store. The first thing that went wrong was the sound. It started as a faint rattle under the hood, growing louder each mile. I turned down the radio, heart skipping. Come on, not tonight, I muttered, tapping the gas pedal. The car coughed, sputtered, and then went silent, right there in the middle of the old highway, surrounded by tall trees and miles of darkness. I pulled over, the only light coming from my dim headlights cutting through the fog. My phone showed only 1 bar of service. Of course, I sighed. The night was so quiet that even the crickets seemed hesitant to sing. For a long minute, I sat there gripping the steering wheel, wondering what to do. I wasn't far from town, but walking alone didn't sound like a good idea either. After several failed attempts to restart the car, I popped the hood, pretending I had the faintest idea of what I was doing. The cold air hit me, and I shivered under my light jacket. That's when I saw another pair of headlights in the distance, slowly approaching. Relief washed over me for a second, until a thought crept in, what if it wasn't safe? I took a step back toward the driver's side door, ready to lock myself in just in case. The car stopped a few feet behind mine, and a man stepped out. He looked to be in his mid-30s, wearing a dark jacket and jeans, a flashlight in hand. Hey there, he called out in a friendly voice. Need some help? His tone eased me a little. Yeah, I replied cautiously. My car just died. I think it's the engine. He walked closer, keeping a polite distance. I'm Daniel, a mechanic. Actually was heading back from a late call in town. Mind if I take a look? A mechanic? The odds felt too good to be true. Still, his calm and steady demeanor made it hard to refuse. Sure, I said, but please, don't mind if I stay right here. He chuckled, completely understandable. He lifted the hood and pointed his flashlight inside, the beam bouncing off metal and steam. I watched from the side as he poked around, humming softly. Looks like your alternator might have gone bad, he finally said. It's not charging the battery properly. That sounds expensive, I muttered. He smiled. Not too bad if you get it done soon. I can give you a tow into town if you'd like. I've got a small truck parked just a few miles down this road. My instinct told me to hesitate. That's really kind of you, I said, but I might just call roadside assistance. He nodded. That's smart, but I'll wait here until someone arrives, if that's okay. This road can get pretty lonely. That small offer of kindness made me ease up. We stood there, the wind rustling through the trees. Daniel seemed genuinely helpful. He even shared a thermos of coffee from his truck while I waited for help. We chatted about random things, his job, the local diner, even the weird weather. For a moment, the fear melted into something comforting. But as the minutes passed and my phone's battery drained to 3%, unease crept back in. The road was still empty. No tow truck, no other cars. The silence began to feel heavy. Suddenly, Daniel turned toward the woods. Did you hear that? He whispered. I froze. There was a faint crunching sound, like footsteps. Maybe it's an animal, I said quickly, forcing a smile. He nodded slowly. Maybe. But that's a heavy step for an animal. He grabbed his flashlight and scanned the tree line. The beam danced between the trunks, and for a second, it caught something, a shape. Tall, still, watching. I gasped. Daniel, what is that? I don't know, he said softly. His face tightened. Get back in the car, Lauren. My name. I hadn't told him my name. My heart jumped. How do you? He looked at me quickly, eyes wide. You told me earlier, didn't you? No, I said. The air grew cold. Every instinct screamed for me to move. But then the sound came again, closer this time, a definite step on gravel. Daniel turned toward the woods, flashlight trembling slightly in his hand. Who's out there? He shouted. No answer. Then, silence. Seconds later, something snapped, and a figure burst out of the trees. I screamed and ducked behind the car door. Daniel stepped forward, shielding me. The figure stumbled into the light. It was a teenage boy, dirty, shivering, and crying. Please, help me, the boy cried. There's someone out there. My fear turned into confusion. Daniel rushed to him, guiding him toward the light. Hey, slow down. What's going on? The boy looked at me with wide eyes. They followed me from the cabin. What cabin? I asked. He pointed into the woods. There's an old one back there. My friends and I were hiking. Then we saw lights, and this man started chasing us. Daniel looked skeptical but concerned. We should call the police, he said. My phone's dead, I whispered, glancing at the blank screen. He pulled his out. It was cracked, useless. Looks like mine too. Just then, headlights appeared again, brighter this time. A car approached fast, slowing only when it reached us. I tensed, ready to run, but relief flooded me when I saw the emblem of the highway patrol. A tall officer stepped out. Everything okay here? He asked. We all started talking at once. The broken car, the boy, the figure in the woods. The officer raised a hand, listening carefully, then shone his light toward the trees. You're lucky, he said after a moment. We've had reports of break-ins near this area tonight. Some drifters trying to hide in those woods. I felt my knees go weak. Daniel caught me by the elbow. You all right? I nodded shakily. I think so. The officer called in backup and escorted us toward his car. Daniel helped push my vehicle to the side of the road before promising to follow the tow truck back into town. I couldn't thank him enough. The boy's parents were called and arrived soon after, sobbing with relief. Hours later, after everything had been reported and my car towed, I sat in the small diner Daniel had mentioned earlier. He sat across from me, sipping coffee. I didn't mean to scare you, he said quietly. When I said your name earlier, I'd seen your name tag on the dashboard when I checked your car. I laughed softly, realizing how wild my imagination had gotten. It's okay, I guess the dark does strange things to the mind. He smiled. You handled it better than most. When I finally got home around dawn, Ethan was waiting by the door. The moment he saw me, he pulled me into his arms. I told him everything, the car, Daniel, the boy, the woods. He listened quietly, shaking his head in disbelief. You could have been hurt, he said, voice thick with emotion. I know, I said, tears filling my eyes. But there were good people out there too. Days later, I read in the local paper that the police had caught 2 men near the cabin. They'd been responsible for several robberies in the area. It sent chills down my spine, realizing how close we'd all been to danger. Sometimes I still drive that same highway, though never that late again. I pass the stretch of road where my car broke down and whisper a quiet thank you, to the stranger who stopped, to the officer who arrived, and to the reminder that not every dark night ends badly. It was the night my faith in people was tested, and somehow, restored.